We're at the Bengaluru International Airport. BIAL is also a key investment for Prem Watsa's Fairfax holdings, and with me here is Mr. Marar, the Managing Director of the Bengaluru International Airport. Thank you very much, sir, for talking to us. This airport used to be the third busiest in India till a few months ago. They had extensive expansion plans before COVID changed the equation. But how have the last few weeks been? Are you seeing a recovery? Where are you seeing it? Where is Bengaluru Airport today in terms of the traffic?
Well, on a lighter note, we've been very busy getting used to the idea that we are the second largest airport in India right now. But of course, that's not truly reflective of the actual demand in traffic as far as civil aviation is concerned. Because truly speaking, Mumbai is the second largest airport. But because of severe restrictions in Mumbai, I think Bangalore is today the second largest airport. But having said that, it was a very slow start to begin with. In a calibrated manner, government opened up 33% of the traffic initially, then to 45% and now to 60%. But the good sign is we have seen two important signs of recovery. One is the fact that the passenger numbers are steadily going up. So if you look at it now, we are at about approximately 30,000 passengers going through this airport every day, which is not a bad thing at all, which is in fact larger than when the airport opened in 2008. We didn't have 30,000 passengers. That's a great sign. And that is also reflective of about 35% of the actual traffic pre-COVID levels. So I think it's a good sign as far as recovery is concerned in terms of passenger numbers. The other extremely important thing that's happening is in terms of the change in profile of passengers. So initially we saw it was mostly labor that was getting back to wherever they had to get back to, etc., etc. But today what we are finding is that business travel is actually starting. And I think there are two ways I can confirm that. One is through observation that we can see the profile of people has changed. And second is through anecdotal experience. I've been talking to a lot of people in the city. I have been personally talking to a lot of people who have taken flights for business and have come back and said, wow, it's a terrific experience. So, in fact, many people are actually saying the airport experience today, or the aviation experience, I don't want to say airport, but airport, airline, the whole aviation experience today is actually even better than it was pre-COVID.
Right. But Mr. Marar, I remember before, there used to be a problem where Bangalore did not have enough capacity for the 20 million that it was seeing. There were plans to expand it to reach 50 million capacity by 2021. Where do those plans stand today?
So, we firmly believe in the long-term capacity requirements for Bangalore because the growth is going to come back as far as civil aviation in India is concerned. This is a temporary blip, and as soon as, let's say, a vaccine is found or whatever, everything will recover back. So we are still betting on the long-term growth, and we are continuing with our expansion plans. So there are delays to the expansion plan on account of COVID because migrant labor went back. There were problems with imports. Many ports were not functioning and many factories were shut down globally and things like that. So as a result of all that, we're seeing a slight delay in the overall project. But I think it's a good thing because I think our projects will be completed just in time to cater to the growth that we will see at the end of this pandemic. Having said that, we already had made measures in Terminal 1 to cater to that growth. So while T1 was originally was designed to cater to about 20 million passengers, we had done through very smart digital interventions like your Digi Yatra program that you see behind here, or through smart security systems that we had put through, the ability to actually cater to about 36 million passengers through the same terminal, because capacity creation in the future is not created by bricks but by bytes, is our argument. So we don't construct our way out of the problem, but invest in technology as the way out of the problem.
Right.
So I think we have the capacities required for future growth, and in terms of sheer physical capacity, I think our expansion plans are still underway. At this point of time, we are 55% through as far as the construction is concerned. The runway is already completed. As you know, in December we operationalized the runway. Terminal 2 will open now in the first quarter of 2022 instead of the first quarter of 2021, which is great from a construction timeline perspective, is great in terms of the impact it will have on user charges, and is great in terms of the fact that it will come just in time for catching the recovery wave.
Right. The other concern is with a lot of organizations moving to remote working, some say that this will become permanent. Are you still optimistic about business travel picking up? Because many people say that I didn't realize that I had to travel to these meetings. I'm able to do it via Zoom and WebEx. Do you see that getting lost? Do you see that recovering, or will things come back to normal?
Well, I think in the short term, this work from home will continue, in the sense that there will be people who will ask those fundamental questions. Why do I have to travel when I could conduct the same meetings efficiently without traveling? And I think in the next 12-month period, that sentiment will continue to be the overriding sentiment. But I bet on the fact that we as a human race thrive on social interaction. We thrive on discovery. We thrive on our intrinsic need to go out and experience, touch, feel. And business is not made by cold transactions that are carried on across a virtual medium. I think you need a firm handshake. You need to look people in the eye. You need to build confidence. You need to have social interactions, dinners to really conclude a business deal. And therefore, in the long run, I think these human instincts will result in people going back to travel. I'm firmly of the opinion that travel is going to come back, maybe slightly depressed than it was earlier, but it will come back and people will start traveling again, both for business and for leisure.
Right. Give us a sense of the action that you're seeing here in terms of domestic, international, where are you seeing traffic coming? Which routes are more popular, or which routes are more used now? Give us some perspective on those lines.
Certainly. I think bulk of the travel that's happening right now is through domestic. Domestic is really what has led the recovery. As far as international is concerned, the country itself has several restrictions. As you know, for international, there are only two types of flights that are allowed: the Vande Bharat and the bubble flights, air bubble flights. So those are limited in number, and I think we're averaging at about 1,000 passengers a day, kind of thing. But domestic is really what's leading the resurgence. Initially, the largest wave that we saw was for passengers who were departing, because they were leaving to go back to where they came from. Bangalore is really a city to which people come to work, which means the percentage of migrants was very high here, and they were all headed back to where they wanted to go to. But now we are seeing a balancing of that out. So we are seeing a lot of people coming back into Bangalore, which is a sign of growing confidence in the wheels of the economy starting to move. And so bulk of our traffic, let's say today 1.7 million is the total amount of traffic that we've operated this year, out of which 95% is domestic. Even till date, the number one destination continues to be Calcutta, which is a new trend completely. Mumbai and Delhi were the number one cities to which we used to operate flights, but 11% of all our traffic is going to Calcutta.
Any reasons for that?
I think the largest population from a migrant standpoint, what we've discovered now, is from the northeastern region, and Calcutta, don't look at it as Calcutta as a city, but look at Calcutta as the gateway to the northeast.
Gateway to the northeast.
So from that perspective, a lot of people are going back to the northeast from here, and that's what we are seeing. Number two is Delhi, and number three will really surprise you, is Patna.
Okay.
So it's a large volume of traffic going to, as you can see, north and northeast, and the next will be other southern cities.
Right.
That's what we're seeing as trends.
And in terms of aero revenues, non-aero revenues, you traditionally wanted to kind of hike the non-aero component. Where do those plans stand now? And also the monetization of land, close to BIAL. You had plans for malls, and Fairfax has disclosed that it had various plans to monetize the land around it. Where do all those plans stand now?
So no plans change. I think if there's anything that has that we have learned in this environment, is that we are even more firmly committed to those plans than ever before. So most importantly, as far as non-aeronautical revenue streams are concerned, mostly coming from, let's say, retail and food and beverage, I think one thing that was coming in the way was the fact that there would be contact involved in conducting this transaction. So we very quickly moved in and made them all contactless transactions, and that has helped in customer confidence. Food and beverage is a good positive sign. People are finding the confidence to come in and sit. And from September 1st, since the liquor licenses were opened up for consumption in the F&B outlets, we saw a very interesting trend at the Quad, which is, as you know, one of the favorite night spots for the city of Bangalore. This weekend, we had people from the city driving all the way down to come and have a drink and dinner at the Quad. So it's a good sign that we are seeing here. And we believe that these, if you enable them digitally, these businesses will go back to where they were, and we are completely betting on that. So we are developing our new digital engagement platform. We are finding more ways of enhancing the digital payment capabilities, etc., etc. As far as real estate is concerned, I think once again, we firmly believe, so there have been a lot of arguments. Do you think office spaces will be in demand once again if people are going to work from home? And I think they will return. So one thing that will happen certainly is that there might be a small percentage of people who will work from home, but that will be balanced, I think, in equal measure by the additional spacing requirements for the people who will come to work. So total real estate space requirement will not go down. And in the long run, the demand will come back. In the short run, let's say 12 to 18 months, there might be a slight suppression of demand, but this demand will come back. And I must tell you what has been interesting for us in this pandemic period between the 1st of April and now, we signed 4 term sheets for real estate ventures in our campus. So which means that even in the midst of this pandemic, people
this is for malls or entertainment or what kind of terms?
So right now they're still wrapped in under an NDA, so I'm not going to reveal what specifically they are, but they are large developments. Some in the area of manufacturing and some in the area of real, true blue real estate. So,
the residential?
No, we don't have any residential inside our campus at all. Being an airport, security restrictions and all that, there are some restrictions around residential, but more office spaces in the kind.
So that's still happening?
It's still happening.
Okay.
And in the midst of the pandemic, we've signed the term sheet. So I think
and the investment that was being planned to develop the second terminal, is that still on? Because a few months back I read they were planning to invest an additional $1 billion. So, I mean, have you paused on some of those investments? Have you delayed it because of the current situation?
No. I think the total size of the investment into developing the additional facilities, terminal, runway, the whole thing put together is roughly 13,000 crores. A little short of 2 billion. And that remains exactly the way it is. The good news is that it was completely funded. It was funded with a combination of debt and equity. And the debt is also secured completely. It's a consortium, State Bank of India and Axis Bank led, and there are other banks as well. And the interesting thing is that the equity portion of it, most of it we had already invested before we drew down the debt.
Right.
So with that, the banks are also fairly secure in releasing the funds to us and allowing us to draw down because we have already invested our equity portion. So I think it's very safe to say that our funds are secured for the expansion.
Right. Finally, Mr. Marar, as we approach the end of the interview, I'm seeing so many changes here in terms of the airport itself, in terms of the digital consoles to do everything. How many of these changes are going to become a permanent feature? I mean, these are changes that were forced because of the pandemic, but do you see these changes becoming permanent?
I think many of these changes, and I think you will agree that this will apply to our lives as well. Even in our lives, I'm sure there are many changes that we've brought about as a result of this pandemic that we are going to retain forever. Because there have been some positive and nice changes as a result of this pandemic. And I think that's the case that we see at the airport as well. So for instance, we were anyway at some point of time going to move to biometric enabled contactless travel. That was a bet that we always had, which is the genesis of the DigiYatra concept. But today, we had to move to that at a very short notice because of the pandemic. And that's a change that's permanent. It's going to remain here. Secondly, I think as a nation, we've become a lot more aware of hygiene, sanitation, cleanliness. I think very, very good trends indeed. And I think these are also going to remain with us because I think we have realized the importance of remaining, maintaining public spaces in a clean and hygienic manner. So that's going to permanently remain here. And I think, let's say, I want to preface that by saying that Bengaluru Airport was always known for being clean and hygienic, but I think we've just taken it up 2 notches to a very high level of almost obsessive nature of cleanliness, and I think that's going to remain here as well. Third, I think all the elements of digital transactions, digital payments, I think those are also positive trends, and we don't want to go back to cash transactions or transactions that involve physical contact anymore. I think that's another great trend that we see here, and there are many elements of, so from a business continuity standpoint, as a company, we decided that coming out of the crisis, we must also present a new version of ourselves. We must make sure that it's not the same BIAL that went into the crisis that came out of the crisis. So there again, we have done a lot of internal changes to become more efficient, more lean, efficient, and things like that. That will also likely remain. So lots of good changes that have resulted as coming out of this pandemic that will remain with us forever.
Right. I can't help but ask you, have you taken a flight since March? Where have you gone to? And tell us about that.
being the CEO of an airport, the right answer would have been I've taken 3 flights, but unfortunately I haven't. But I've spoken to a lot of people who have taken flights, and I must say the reaction. Just a quick statistic that will tell you, give you an idea of what people believe about taking flights. We used to track our complaints to compliments ratio, which is an indication of what people think. In January, it was 1:2.1. 1:2.1. For every complaint, we used to get 2.1 compliments. For the average for the months of June and July was 1:48.
Wow.
For every
That's an
complaint,
amazing
48
start.
compliments. So I think people are really enjoying this experience, and I think more and more people will find confidence to travel.
Yeah, hopefully that will happen. But on that note, thank you very much for talking to ET now.
Pleasure is
Thank
entirely
you.
been
Thank
mine.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.